Hey everyone, it's PK here. Hope you're doing really well. I am back in Brisbane and enjoying the sunny weather. Really enjoying being back into the warmth of sunny Queensland. So there's a few of you guys that have been asking me the sort of typical age-old question of should I buy my own home first to live in, and then should I buy investment properties and get into the whole investment property game? Or should I buy investment properties first and then subsequently buy my own place to live in, my principal place of residence, or PPOR? There's about 5 or 6 people that have commented on the videos and also messaged me directly, so I thought I'd do a video on it just to explain. There are so many reasons why it's better to get into the investment property game first and then buy your own principal place of residence from a financial perspective. But I just want to start off with an emotive perspective. So it's not always that finances should trump, or should dictate what you should do. Sometimes it's just nice to have a home that you can call home, that you can't get kicked out of, and you can, furnish it the way you like. You can put paintings on the walls, all that sort of thing. So all those nice, warm and fuzzy feelings are very important, but I'm sort of disregarding them for the purpose of this conversation. So the first reason that it makes sense to get into the investment property game and then buy your principal place of residence is that if you do go ahead and buy your principal place of residence, then basically what you have is non-deductible debt. That just means that your debt is not for investment purposes, so it's not deductible. That inhibits your household cash flows, because every dollar that you're paying in interest, every dollar that you're paying in principal, it's not offsetting any income that you're generating. So this is what 99.9% of people do across Australia, and it takes them 30 or 35 years to pay off their home loan. In general, that's not a good way to sort of get ahead, financially speaking. Now, if you don't have non-deductible debt, or in other words, when you have investment property debt, which is deductible, you're paying less. It's actually improving your cash flows versus a PPOR, because it's deductible. Every interest dollar that you're paying, it's potentially reducing the income that you earn, or at least in the taxman's eyes, it's reducing your taxable income, right? So let's go through a scenario where, let's say you have already bought a place of your own. Let's say you're in Melbourne or Sydney and the place cost $700,000, $800,000. You probably have a $600,000, $650,000, $700,000 debt on it, and it's non-deductible. All of a sudden, you're hurting your household cash flow, so it's having a big impact on your life, like your lifestyle, your ability to go on holidays, watch movies, entertainment, all that sort of thing. But also, not just from a strict cash flow perspective, it's also reducing your ability to get more debt in the bank's eyes, right? So it's inhibiting significantly your ability to actually purchase investment properties, right? Like if you're on an average income of, let's say $80,000 to $100,000, $120,000, maybe a household income of $100,000, $150,000, $160,000, you're not going to be able to get that much more debt once you've already got non-deductible debt in your principal place of residence. So what that means is that you've basically stifled or truncated your ability to start an investment property portfolio from the get-go, just because you bought a PPOR, your principal place of residence. So you might still be able to get 1 or 2 investment properties, and that's great, but really that's where it'll stop, because you have all of this debt which is stifling your borrowing power, and it's hurting your real household cash flows, your household budget. Now, if you think about it the other way around, where someone who hasn't actually bought any houses yet, they might be thinking, okay, should I buy a PPOR first, or should I buy an investment property? And if they go ahead and buy investment properties on interest only, that is not going to be impacting their household budget one bit. In fact, it's very possible to buy high growth investment properties that are also high cash flow. In other words, instead of costing you money like the PPOR debt, they're actually giving you income every single month, every single year. We're not talking tens of thousands of dollars from day one, obviously, but thousands of dollars. So that's actually adding to your ability to live a lifestyle, to go on holidays, to watch movies, all that sort of good stuff. But more importantly, by having deductible debt, debt in houses that are investment properties, the bank isn't penalizing you that much, right? It's not penalizing you as if you had non-deductible debt in your own home. So you're able to buy many, many, many more investment properties and really accrue a portfolio. And then let's just go through some high-level math, and obviously these are generic numbers, but let's say over the course of 6 or 7 years, you're able to buy, let's say, 4 to 5 properties. Obviously not everyone can do this, many people can as well. I don't know everyone's situation, but that's pretty, it can be pretty typical for sophisticated, educated investors to achieve. So you've acquired that portfolio and you've held it for 10 or 15 years. That portfolio, I'm not going to say has doubled, but it will have generated hundreds of thousands of dollars of equity. Okay, probably, in fact, most likely over that time period, at least $500,000, $1 million, in my case, much more than that. In so many people's cases, much more than that, not just myself. Easily $1-2 million over that time horizon of equity. And so what you can then do is then compare your situation in that scenario versus had you gone ahead and bought your own home to live in. In 10 or 15 years' time, you would not have achieved that equity in your own home, right? Because you only had one asset. But through the power of leverage in investment properties, you can buy multiple properties and in 10 and 15 years' time achieve that type of equity. So which is better? It's a case of delayed sense gratification. If you want to hang the pictures or the paintings of yourself and your family in your own home and never have a landlord ever rip it down, and you want that sort of warm and fuzzy type, aspect to a home, then maybe investing in properties isn't for you. But investing in properties will get you much more progressed in your wealth, in your family's wealth, in 5, 10, 15 years' time if you just sacrifice some of those things initially. Okay, and also, the case is that if you buy your own principal place of residence, your own home to live in, you're unlikely to be buying in a high growth area. And the reason is that the areas that you probably want to live in are very unlikely to also be high growth areas. Like right now, if I scan across Australia, and my clients know this as well as I do, it's pretty slim pickings in terms of the areas that are actually going to grow. It's not a case that you just buy anywhere in Brisbane and just because it's affordable that it'll go up in value, that just because Melbourne did really well in recent history that it'll continue to do so, that Geelong did well in recent history that it will continue to do so. It's not the case. There's only probably less than 7 suburbs, and I'm not just making this up, I'm not exaggerating. There are less than 7 suburbs that I would personally put my money in across Australia at the moment. That doesn't mean that they're not going to, that it's bad to invest. All I'm saying is you have to be very selective. Anyway, back to the point. If you buy your own principal place of residence, it's very unlikely that it will actually grow to the extent that an investment property bought in the right location will. Okay, so it's there's so many factors to consider when thinking about, should I buy my own home now or should I start an investment property portfolio? But, the principle is you will be much better off financially, leaving aside the warm and fuzzy stuff, you will be much better off financially if you do go ahead and practice that principle of delayed gratification. buy your investment property, your first one, second one, third one, fourth one, etc. Build that equity up whilst not sacrificing your lifestyle. And then in 8, 10, 12, 15 years, you can buy your dream home, and you can actually generate that passive income that I know, that's the reason I got into it, and so many people get into it. So look, I don't mean to make it out like it's easy to achieve. It's not. It takes a lot of commitment, takes a lot of hard work. Asset selection is paramount. You need to know what you're doing. You can't outsource the responsibility to anyone, because no one cares about your money as much as you do. But I've been getting this question: should I buy my own home first, or should I start the investment property journey first? So hopefully that adds some color and some context and content around answering that specific question. Just came to mind as well that, generally speaking, it's cheaper to rent in a place you actually want to live in than it is to own and pay a mortgage. So I know so many of my friends, they live in Manly in Sydney, and they just wouldn't even be able to afford to live in Manly if they bought a house there, right? But they love Manly and they can afford to rent. That allows them to become rentvestors, which is that strategy that I said. You rent, you don't buy your own home first, you rent, and you use your borrowing capacity, from your household income. You use your cash flows to get into the investment property game. So you're living in a terrific area, you're close to all amenity, all your friends, it's a great lifestyle, but you're also getting your money and your income working hard for you, right? You're getting that investment property, the first one, the second one, third one. They're each paying you as well. They're not a financial drag on you, but with the right asset selection, they're also going to be increasing in value. So this is possible. None of this is spruiking or anything like that. This is what I've done, counting my lucky stars that it worked. So many of my clients have done. So many people who haven't worked with me have done. It's not some secret sauce, but you do need to know how to do it. So hopefully that was valuable, guys. If it was, then please can you leave a like or a love so I can get some reciprocation and see if it's actually making a difference. And also, if you agree with anything I said or any specific points, feel free to comment right below. Or even if you disagree, this group is and my videos are all about sparking discussion. So feel free to comment. Okay, guys, see you later.